that everyone knows is the problem, but rarely talks about. It is therefore shocking that it can abrogate itself the responsibility in problems that are in creation. For the benefit of the Commission, where reading shillings were noted on various heads with Chebukati and company offering no explanation for this material anomaly. We could go on and on. Those are just but a few examples, but we are sure that you get the picture. The PAC, the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, noted in its report that prudent management of public resources by the Iebc had been sacrificed at the altar of self-aggrandizement, and that speculators and wheeler dealers had a field day in the Iebc. The committee concluded that the true cost of the August 2017 general elections and the repeat elections of October 2017 presidential election may never be known, and that the actual amount of public money that was lost from the manipulation of procurement processes and creative accounting may never be fully ascertained. It is estimated that no less than Kenya shillings 9.1 billion was either wasted or stolen in the 2017 election cycle. The BBI process aims to reform the Iebc once and for all. As one of the institutions whose lethargy, incompetence and inertia make them complicit in the shedding of Kenyan blood, we would have expected that the current team hangs its head in shame and await Judgment Day. But it is said that the devil's agents often have a problem with silence. If there was ever a time to call out, isolate, and throw out the rogue gangsters occupying Iebc, it is now. They seek not to serve, but to rob the public, televise their incompetence, and impose themselves on a public that couldn't be more nauseated. Mr. Chebukati and his gang of ne'er-do-wells should now be aware that Honorable Raila Odinga is not prone to making unverified statements, and his figures are backed by science and global case studies. The Commission, as we have illustrated, has been caught with its hands in the cookie jar, and yet they are trying to convince us that the hand was trying to clean inside the jar. It is laughable that through some warped logic, Mr. Chebukati had the nerve to tie the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to the cost of the 2010 referendum, suggesting quite interestingly that just because the Right Honorable Raila Odinga was on the yes side of the 2010 referendum, he somehow bears a level of responsibility for the cost of that referendum at that time. Such logic is what convinces many that Mr. Chebukati lacks the intellectual grounding required to do his job. Only a really dumb thief says, but I stole this same way last time and it was okay, when caught in the act. The budget was overshot in 2010 and in all elections that the electoral body has conducted since. It is at this time of reforms that we shall make it all right, regardless of how easily they walked away with the loot some other time. Right Honorable Odinga has never worked for the Iebc, he has never been the commission, he does not prepare their budgets, and has in fact been a perennial victim of the Iebc's evil machinations. So his name cannot be dragged into the commission's unbridled greed. The Chicken Gate scandal has already taught us that what seems like overshooting the budget and wanton wastage is in fact clear manifestation of theft. We are certain that if we left the chicken out of the Iebc's so-called budget, we can deliver a referendum at a cost of no more than Kenya shillings 2 billion. That is the end of the statement, and we will take questions. Oh, just before we take questions, we can start with Honorable Atandi. He'll say something, then I will give the chair of PSC also to say something. Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, SG. My name is Honorable Sam Atandi, Member of Parliament for Lagos Songa. On top of the statement which has been read by my SG, I want to make the following statements. One, Rwanda, a country which is the same in size as Nyanza province, which is about 4 counties, conducted an election with an amount of less than 350 million Kenya shillings. This is the same amount of money which Iebc used to conduct a by-election in Siaya County in the year 2015. I've given you this example because I want you to understand how elections in Kenya is an avenue for theft. And if you look at the BBI report, Kenyans gave out various reasons why they think IEBC should be disbanded. One of them was incompetence of the officials. The other one was misuse of public resources. The other one was theft. And theft occurs in various forms. Occurs in procurement and also occurs, in wastage of public resources in procuring stuff that are really not needed.
Correct.
I want to give you an example. In 2013, there was a stalemate when Issa Kassan and Mr. Swago disagreed on how to procure BVR kits for the elections in that year. And Kenya government decided to go into an arrangement which is called government to government. And the election materials were procured in that manner. In the process, if you look at the estimations which were given by Mr. Swago, vis-a-vis what the government ended up using to buy the equipment, government saved almost 4 billion shillings in the process. Therefore, what we are trying to tell Chebukati is that Kenyans have already said they have no confidence in him. They have no confidence in him because of the reasons I've given you. Lack of confidence emanating from incompetence and theft and corruption. Therefore, this is not the same person who again wants to lecture us on, how best or how cost-effective Kenyans can be able to do a referendum. I want to say that we are going to do a referendum, and ODM experts are going to help Chebukati just to help the process to move on, because thereafter, he's going to be out of the office. And so we don't want him to be a stumbling block to what Kenyans really want to do. And lastly, Mr. Chebukati is the most incompetent electoral official that this country has seen. When we had those stalemates at Bomas, because I was there, we had this guy who was going around, mumbling, unable to pronounce himself, unable to explain himself. And in fact, Kenyans really, people who died because of the electoral process, should gang up and actually prosecute Chebukati. We need to have, those prosecutions going on, because Chebukati needs to pay for the things that he committed to Kenyans. Thank you.
Let me say something. Firstly, in my capacity as the party's Secretary for Political Affairs, and of course my other role in Parliament. I have seen Mr. Chebukati trying to hide behind the veil of independence of the Commission, which is provided for under Article 249 of the Constitution. But I want to say this, as a lawyer, you don't read the law selectively. Article 249 of the Constitution must be read together with Article 201 of the Constitution, which provides for the principles of public finance, management of public finance. And among other things, that article requires that public finance is managed in a manner which is transparent, accountable, and open to public scrutiny. And therefore, it really baffles us that when the public, as represented by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, wants to interrogate the management of public finance by a public body, such as the Iebc, then the commissioners hit the roof through Chebukati. That is unacceptable. If you look at the report that has been quoted extensively, the report of the Public Accounts Committee, which was tabled in Parliament and adopted with minor amendments. In fact, the only amendments to that report were to do with the committee's recommendations that the IBC commissioners go home. The rest of the report remained intact, and I suppose you media people must have access to it. That report essentially indicted the IBC as it was constituted then, and even now. If it was in more advanced democracies, the Chebukati team would have gone home. Immediately the report was adopted by the National Assembly. Of course they didn't. But the question is, what logic is this? That since the 2010 referendum was supposedly, the cost of the 2010 referendum was supposedly inflated, and the cost of the 2017 repeat elections was also inflated, then the cost of the 2020-2021 referendum must also be inflated. That is the logic according to Chebukati. You see, it doesn't make sense. What we are saying is that the IBC has now demonstrated by its latest statement that it has got no capacity to be innovative. The mere fact that you wasted taxpayers' money in the past does not give you the leeway, the mandate to continue wasting taxpayers' money. And therefore, the latest outburst by Chebukati must be condemned in very strong terms. And the attempt to bring in or drop in the name of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga in these shenanigans cannot be tolerated. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Kuna maswali, tutajibu haya maswali. Umesikia mwenyekiti wa kamati ya wahasibu ndani ya bunge amezungumza, na mimi nitachukua maswali. Kuna swala lolote? Yes. Yes, we are saying that it is. We have shown you, because even when you calculate the cost of an election, you calculate the cost per voter. What does it take for Edwin Sifuna to cast his ballot paper at a polling station? That includes the entire cost of production of the ballot, transportation of the ballot, all the commission's expenses. And we have demonstrated to you by giving you excerpts from a report by Parliament itself. It was adopted by Parliament. Yes. And we want to encourage members of the media. Yeah. When Kina Chebukati are talking and saying it is not possible to do elections at 2 billion, you must show them this wastage the way we have laid it here and the way it is laid in the report. How can a commission spend 400 million shillings to purchase a system that it does not use? And it is not one. We have given you the example of the BVR IBM server infrastructure, the security seals worth 19 million. 19 million shillings is not peanuts. 400 million shillings is not peanuts. When they buy data worth 127 million shillings that they don't use, that is wastage and it is theft. When somebody is spending 273 million shillings for the Oracle database and then they don't use it, it tells you that these people expect that there is just money somewhere and that they can draw up fanciful budgets and the Kenyans will just keep quiet. As Honorable Wandai has explained, the Constitution requires openness, transparency, and gives Kenyans a right to interrogate expenditure of all public monies, including in these so-called independent commissions. So I believe that if we sat down as Kenyans and decided that we are tired of carrying the burden of expensive elections in this country, it can be done. But when you see people insisting on doing the wrong things over and over, there is a hidden motive, and as we have said, if we can remove the chicken from the budget of Iebc, we can deliver an election at 100 shillings per vote. We have demonstrated. We have demonstrated by just cutting down wastage and theft, you can actually bring down the cost of elections in this country. Yes, Jeff. I think it is very unfair for you, Jeff, to insinuate that we did not raise questions. Even in the election, Honorable Atandi has spoken, and it's because you've come late. He has explained the instances. Even when government decided to go directly government-to-government deals, it saved us money, 4 billion shillings. We have raised this issue, and we are saying we are never late when it comes to correcting things that have, been done wrongly in the past. So now we are saying it is actually possible. I have never seen someone who's being told that we can actually save you money resisting that they still want to waste public money, and yet the resources are limited. Instead of IEBC inviting us as ODM and telling us, where are you going to cut down the fat so that we have lean and efficient and affordable elections, they are busy castigating those who are trying to correct them. So that is the position of the party. We believe that if we deal with the wastage, such as has been highlighted here, we should be able to have cheaper elections in this country. I think fairness of an election depends on a lot of things. Money does not buy fairness. With all the money that they had, they still bungled the election. And after even the Supreme Court gave them an order, these are criminals. If you are a person who can be served with an order of the highest court in the land, and you disobey, these people belong in jail. They should not even be in office. So you cannot buy fairness with money. You need competence. And that is the biggest problem at IEBC. Thank you very much. I think we will leave it there.
Yes.
Those who have come now can pick the bites from the others.
Yes, we had already had tea, so poleni sana ukichelewa kama Muluya unaweza pata uji, lakini lunch tayari imeisha. Wewe unachelewa? Sikukwambia sisi huwa tuna keep time. Yes, ili bila hiyo we are condemning the less